System is an interconnection of some physical elements and they interact each other to perform some intended task. Okay, that is the basic definition of the system. Okay. So the system can be a continuous time system or it can be a discrete time system. A system is said to be continuous time system if both the input and output signals are continuous time signals. That is, normally we represent the input signal as x of t and the output signal as y of t. Here, x of t is the continuous time signal, y of t is also continuous time signal. That is, a continuous time system takes a continuous time signal as input and produce another continuous time signal as output. Okay. Both input and output signals are continuous time signals. So that type of system is called as a continuous time system, and this is the block representation of a system. Here we don't know what is the complexity of this system. Okay. The system is represented by a black box which takes a signal x of t and produces the signal y of t. Okay. And there may be some relationship between the y of t and x of t. If you consider a system whose input is a discrete time signal and the output is also discrete time, then that type of system is called as a discrete time system. Okay. A system whose input and output signals are discrete time signals, then the system is said to be a discrete time system. So this is the difference between a continuous time system and a discrete time system. So the best example of a continuous time system is a simple RC low pass filter. If you consider an RC low pass filter, so here the input may be x of t and the output voltage may be y of t. So here both the input and output signals are continuous time or analog signals. So that's why this particular system is called as an analog system or the continuous time system. The analog system and the continuous time system can be used interchangeably. Both can be considered the synonym. Similarly, the discrete time system and the digital system can be considered the synonyms. Okay, so we can use the discrete time system and the digital system as synonyms. Understood? Now, if you consider a system like this, which takes an input x of n and produces the output y of n, and here we are taking the part of the output and then delay it. So here this particular D block introduces 1 unit of delay. Okay. So this is called the delay element. Okay. So it takes y of n as input and produces y of n minus 1. Okay. So y of n minus 1 is the delayed version of y of n. Okay. Just like the delay flip flop. Delay flip flop takes some input, okay, it delays and produces at the output after some amount of time. Okay. And then multiply the output of the delay element with some constant a. Then add this to the input x of n. Okay. So here, what is y of n? Y of n is equivalent to x of n plus a into y of n minus 1. So here, this is an example of a discrete time system. Why? Because input is a discrete time signal and the output y of n is also a discrete time signal. So this is a continuous time system and this is the example of a discrete time system. Okay. See here we represented this particular discrete time system by a equation that relates the output and input. Y of n is equivalent to x of n plus a into y of n minus 1. Can you similarly relate the y of t and x of t? Can you relate the y of t and x of t here? What is y of t? Y of t is the voltage across the capacitor. Is it? The voltage across the capacitor is equivalent to how much? Voltage across the capacitor. Voltage across the capacitor. Don't know? Is it right? If the current that is flowing through it is I of tau, okay, or I of t, okay, is it right? And we already know that this I of t is related to x of t. Okay. Therefore, y of t and x of t can be related. Or otherwise, this dy of t dt is equivalent to 1 by c into I of t. So, what is I of t in terms of x of t? I of t, can you write I of t in terms of x of t? X of t by, is it x of t by r? How it will be x of t by r? X of t by r is the voltage across the r. I am asking about the current through the r. What is the voltage across the capacitor or the current through the capacitor? Don't know. See, minus x of t plus r into I of t is equivalent to y of t. Is it right? Okay, I don't want to concentrate on all these things. Therefore, I of t is equivalent to, this is y of t plus x of t divided by r. Is it right? See, apply the KVL here. So, minus x of t r into I of t plus voltage across the capacitor y of t. Minus x of t plus r I of t equivalent to y of t. Therefore, I of t equivalent to y of t plus x of t by r. So, therefore, can you relate now the two? Can you relate the two quantities? So, therefore, this is 1 by Rc into y of t plus 1 by Rc into x. So, this implies dy of t dt plus minus 1 by Rc into y of t is equivalent to 1 by Rc into x. Is it right? Which is the interlinear constant coefficient differential equation. Is it? So, here the continuous time system is described by a linear constant coefficient differential equation, and this particular discrete time system that we consider is represented by this equation. Okay. So, this equation is called as the difference equation. See, here this is the difference equation and this is the differential equation. A continuous time system is described by, or a continuous time system is mathematically modeled by differential equation, and a discrete time system is modeled by a difference equation. We already know that in the previous class we have seen differentiation is analogous to difference, integration is analogous to summation. Therefore, we have the differential equation here and the difference. So, that is the difference between the continuous time system and the discrete time system. Understood? Now we see the linearity of a DT system. So here onwards we concentrate on the discrete time system. We see one important property of the discrete time system called as linearity. So based on that, the discrete time system can be classified into a linear or non-linear system. So if you let, this is a DT system, discrete time system, with input x of n and output y of n. Okay. Now, if the input is x1 of n, let the corresponding response is y1 of n. Now take the same system, same discrete time system, and apply another input x2 of n. Find the corresponding output y2 of n. Now, if you excite the same system by the x3 of n, the corresponding output will be y3 of n. Here, this x3 of n is equivalent to x1 of n plus x2 of n. Then the y3 of n will be y1 of n plus y2 of n if the system satisfies the principle of superposition. Is that? If the system is satisfying the principle of superposition, the total response y3 of n is equivalent to sum of the individual responses. Okay. Actually, this is called the additivity property. This is called the property of additivity or additivity property. Okay. Now, if you consider the same system, let x of n and y of n are input and output of a particular system that we consider. If you scale the input by a constant a, the output will also be scaled by the same constant. Then the system is said to be satisfying the scaling property. Okay. First one is the additivity property and this is the scaling property. According to the scaling property, if the input is multiplied by a constant, the output will also be multiplied by the same constant. According to the additivity property, if the response of the system to x1 of n is y1 of n and response of the system to x2 of n is y2 of n, then the response of the system to x1 of n plus x2 of n is y1 of n plus y2 of n. Okay. See, if these two conditions are satisfied, if the additivity and scaling are satisfied by the system, then the system is said to be satisfying the principle of superposition. Okay. Now, if you consider the same system and excite the system by a x1 of n plus a2 x2 of n, what will be the output? Output will be a1 y1 of n plus a2 y2 of n. So here, see, both the scaling and additivity properties are satisfied. The system satisfies the additivity and scaling properties, then the system is said to be satisfying the principle of superposition. So therefore, this system obeys the principle of superposition when this condition is satisfied. If the system is satisfying the principle of superposition, then the system is said to be a linear system. Okay. So therefore, mathematically, what is the condition for linearity of the system? a1 x1 of n plus a2 x2 of n should produce a1 y1 of n plus a2 y2 of n. Is it clear to you? That is, if the input of the system is a1 x1 of n plus a2 x2 of n, the output will be a1 y1 of n plus a2 y2 of n, where a1 and a2 are arbitrary constants. And here a is also an arbitrary constant. Is it clear to you? You already know this. Okay, you know the principle of superposition. So now we see one more important property called as time invariance. The system is said to be time invariant. The name itself indicates time invariant. If the system parameter or if the system properties are not varying with time, then the system is said to be time invariant. Okay? If the system properties are not varying with time, then the system is said to be time invariant. If you consider this system, let x of t is the input and y of t is the output. So what will be the output of this system? Output will be this. Is it? Half-wave rectifier. The output of the half-wave rectifier for this input is this. Is it? Now, what is this? X of t minus t naught. So if this is the input, what will be the output? For this input, see here up to t naught, this is 0, output is also 0. Here you get, here it will be. Is it? Is it right? Now, if you compare this with this, can I write this as y of t minus t naught? See, with the assumption that the system properties are not varying with time. That is, here we are not varying any parameter or any component in the half-wave rectifier. Okay? And the component properties are not varying with time. Then, if you apply the input x of t, you will get y of t output. So this is the correct output for this input. Okay? And this is the correct output for this input. That is, if you introduce some delay in the input, the same delay will also be introduced in the output. So this will happen when the system properties are not varying with time. So that's why you take the half-wave rectifier, perform the experiment today. Okay. Now take the same half-wave rectifier circuit, do the same experiment tomorrow. Okay. Will you get the correct result? No. Perform the half-wave rectifier experiment today and tomorrow. Okay. Today and tomorrow you will get the same output. Okay. Half-wave rectifier sinusoid you will get if the system properties are not varying with time. Okay. Follow. That is, if you delay the input, what do you mean by doing the experiment today and tomorrow? If you apply the input today or if you apply the input tomorrow, okay, that is, we are delaying this by 1 day. So if the input is delayed, output will also be delayed. Yes, if that condition is satisfied, the system is said to be time invariant. That is, if the x of n produces the y of n. So this symbol indicates the input is x of n, the output of the system will be y of n. Then x of n minus n naught will produce y of n minus n. See, if the input is x of t, output is y of t. If the input is x of t minus t naught, output will be y of t minus t. If this is true for continuous time system, that will also be true for the discrete time system. Therefore, if this condition is satisfied, then the system is said to be time invariant system. So the previous property is the linearity, and this is the time invariant property. Okay. So if this condition is not satisfied, the system is said to be time variant. If this condition is not satisfied, the system is said to be a time variant system. Otherwise, it is a time invariant system. Now, if you take the linearity plus time invariance, these two properties. If a particular system is satisfying the two properties, linearity and time invariance, then the system is said to be a linear time invariant system. Or is also called as linear shift invariant system. Why we are using shift here instead of time? Take for example an image. To consider an image, the image is not a function of time. So there also you can delay the signal. So there the shift is not the time. The shift may be the shift in the spatial domain. Okay, shift in x or y axis. Okay. That's why. So instead of calling it as time invariant, we can also call it as shift invariant. The shift invariant is the more generalized term. If the signal is a function of time, then we call it as time invariant. If it is not function of time, the signal may not be function of time. The best example is the image. In certain cases, instead of calling it as time invariant, we call it as shift invariant. Follow? So this is LSI system. Linear shift invariant, linear time invariant system, both of them. Okay. That is the two conditions x1 of n a1 plus a2 x2 of n will produce a1 y1 of n plus a2 y2 of n, and x of n minus n naught will produce y of n minus n. So if these two conditions are satisfied, the system is said to be an LTI system. So why LTI system? See, the system is not linear and time invariant. Okay. The analysis of the system will be difficult. If you consider a non-linear system, okay, the analysis of the non-linear system is difficult when compared to the analysis of the linear system. And the linear systems can be modeled by linear constant coefficient differential equation in the case of continuous time system. Okay. But if you consider a non-linear system, we need to model the non-linear system by set of non-linear equations. To analyze that non-linear system, we have to analyze or we have to work out with all these non-linear equations. Solving the non-linear equations is very difficult when compared to solving the linear equation. Take for example, if you have a linear constant coefficient differential equation, we have lot many tools to solve it. Okay. How can you solve the linear constant coefficient differential equation? The general solution, that is, you can directly find the general solution by finding the complementary solution and the particular integral. Otherwise, you can use the Laplace transform and you can solve the linear constant coefficient differential equation. So that is the reason why we go for the linear time invariant system. And if the system properties are not varying with time, then the system analysis will be simple. Take for example, if the half-wave rectifier properties are varying with time, then the analysis of that particular half-wave rectifier will be difficult. Why? Because the system properties are varying with time. If you apply the input now, you will get one output. If you apply the input after some time, you will get somewhat different output. That is, the time to time, the result will vary because its properties are varying with time. So analysis will be difficult. So that's why, even though the system is non-linear, in practical purposes, we assume the system is linear over a particular range of interest, and then we analyze. That's why you might have studied the diode. Diode is a non-linear device, is it? But we assume, or the non-linearity can be considered as linear relationship between the voltage and current in the diode, is it? So we take this type of, actually, so this is the relationship between ID and VD, is it? But in practice, what we do, we approximate, we draw a tangent and we approximate this as linear. Okay, that variation is linear and we can analyze. So that's why the diode can be considered as a resistor, with the assumption that the relationship between the voltage and current through the diode is linear. The diode can be approximated as a resistor. Okay. Either open resistor or closed. Is it right? So in all practical cases, even though the system is not linear, okay, that can be considered as a linear system, because the analysis of the linear system is easy when compared to the analysis of the non-linear system. Okay. So that is the reason why we are concentrating on the linear time invariant system. Here onwards, throughout the course of DFC, we concentrate only on the linear time invariant system. Okay. Understood the meaning of linear time invariant system, or the linearity and time invariance properties. Okay. So now we try to see some important characterizations of the linear time invariant system. So for that purpose, try to define the impulse response or unit sample response of an LTI system. So consider this is an LTI system. This is a discrete time LTI system. dt LTI. Discrete time LTI system. Let the input is x of n and the corresponding output is y of n. Here assumption is the system is relaxed. What do you mean by relaxed system? All the initial conditions are set to 0. So here we are assuming this is a relaxed linear time invariant system. If you let x of n is equivalent to the delta of n. What is delta of n? Delta of n is the impulse function or unit sample function, unit impulse function or unit sample function. Then the corresponding output y of n is called as the impulse response, and that is denoted as h of n. Very simple. The response of the system to an impulse is called as the impulse response. What do you mean by response? Response is the output. When the input is impulse, the corresponding output is called as the impulse response. So why impulse response? What is the significance of this impulse response? Why we define the impulse response? See, a linear time invariant system can be characterized by its impulse response in the time domain. Any linear time invariant system can be completely characterized by the impulse response in the time domain. Okay, we see how can we do it. If you know the impulse response of the LTI system, we can find the response of the system for any arbitrary input. Follow? That is the one significance of defining the impulse response. So we can characterize the LTI system in the time domain by its impulse response. We can completely characterize the linear time invariant system by its impulse response. If you know the impulse response, we can find the response of the system for any arbitrary input. Okay. Now we see how can we find the output of the system for any given input when the impulse response is given. So for that purpose, consider the impulse response of the LTI system is h of n. Now we know the impulse response of this system. Why? Because we excited the system by an impulse and obtained the corresponding output called as the impulse response. We know the impulse response, and the impulse response is denoted as h of n. In the continuous time domain, we denote it as h of t. I think you might have studied h of t is the impulse response. Here we are denoting it as h of n. If the input is x of n, the corresponding output is y of n. So if you know the impulse response of the system, we can find this output for any arbitrary input x of n. Here x of n is some arbitrary signal. So for any arbitrary excitation, we can find the output of the system if you know the impulse response. So we try to do it. So for that purpose, we take this. See, if the input is delta of n, the output is h of n. Is it right? The input is delta of n, the output of the system is h of n. if the input is delta n minus n naught, what will be the output? See, the system is time invariant. So if you introduce a delay in the input, output will also be delayed. That is, the output will be h of n minus. Is that right? See, if the input is multiplied with a constant, see, output will also be multiplied with the constant. So therefore, here also if it is multiplied with c, this will also be multiplied with some constant. Understood? Now we select an arbitrary signal x of n, that it is the input. Actually, we don't know what actually the input is. Okay? So we are selecting some arbitrary shape. That's why here I consider this as 0, 1, 2 and 3. So minus 1, minus 2 and minus 3. Let the sample values are, this is one value, this is another value, this is another value, and some arbitrary shape. Okay. Now, can I write the sample amplitude as x of 0? Okay. What is the sample amplitude here? It will be x of 1. Sample amplitude will be x of 2. Here it will be x of, we don't know what is that value. Okay. So that's why we are writing it as x of 0, x of 1, x of 2. So this amplitude will be x of minus 1. This amplitude will be x of minus 2. This amplitude will be x of. Now, can I write this x of n as x of n is equivalent to x of 0 into delta of n? See, this sample at n equal to 0 is an impulse whose strength is x of 0. So therefore, that can be written as x of 0 into delta of n plus x of 1 into delta of n minus 1 plus x of 2 into delta of n minus 2 plus 1. Similarly, this side x of minus 1 into delta of n plus 1 plus x of minus 2 into delta of n plus 2. Therefore, can I write this x of n as sigma some m equivalent to minus 3 to plus 3 x of m into delta of n minus n. Is it right? That is, this arbitrary signal x of n can be written as sigma m equivalent to minus 3 to plus 3 x of m into delta of n minus n. Is it clear to you? See, when m equivalent to 0, we will get x of 0 into delta of n. X of 0 into delta of n is this. Okay? When n equivalent to 1, x of 1 into delta of n minus 1, this value. When n equivalent to 2, x of 2 into delta of n minus 1. When n equivalent to minus 1, x of minus 1 into delta of n plus 1. When n equivalent to minus 2, it is x of minus 2 into delta of n plus 2. For example, if the duration of this particular signal is from minus infinity to plus infinity. See, first I consider this is from minus 3 to 3. If it is from minus 4 to 4, we write it as minus 4 to 4. If it is from minus infinity to plus infinity, we can write it as sigma m equivalent to minus infinity to plus infinity x of m delta of. So therefore, in general, this x of n can be written as So an arbitrary discrete time signal can be represented in terms of unit is it clear to you? So therefore x of n can be written like this. Is it clear to you? So once you understand, we can find this. We can easily find the y of n. In the next class, we try to evaluate y of n in terms of x of n and h of n.